So, we'll talk about some more weaknesses. One thing to understand is SSL doesn't really do so much for you. SSL encrypts the data in transit, but there's a lot of attacks that will steal the data by making a request, like cross-site scripting, that asks it to send the token to someone, and then encrypting it in transit doesn't save you. So if your token is transmitted without encryption, of course, then it can be sniffed while in transit from any location that it passes by. If you steal a password, they might not get into their account because you might have two-factor authentication. But if you steal a session token, you can often just hijack a session. That's a single token. So, and another thing about it, of course, is often the session token continues to work even after the user logs out, even after they change their password. This is something that happened until 2012 that I mentioned. Gmail would use HTTPS to log in, but then use HTTP, sending the data without encryption. All right, another thing you might do is you might use HTTP for pages before you log in and send a session token, and then when they log in, you just elevate the privileges on that same token. And again, this is a flaw. This means the token was exposed. Upon login, you should always generate a new token, not reuse an old token. Then a user might use the back button. If you have an HTTP part of your site, then they log in and it turns HTTPS, they might go back, and when it goes back, it might make a request to the server over HTTP, including the token. So that's one way it might be exposed. That's why your whole site should be HTTPS. That's much safer. SSL Strip was a tool made by Moxie Marlinspike that was really hot for this, and it still works sometimes. You make a proxy and you connect over HTTP, then it connects to the server over HTTPS. The page looks the same to the user, but all your data is being sent unencrypted to the proxy that can steal it. The server can't tell because for all it knows, the SSL strip is you. Your browser, modern browsers can warn you though, and there's an HSTS header is considered the strongest defense, where you mark your website with HSTS header, and now every browser is supposed to memorize what the certificate was, so it will notice if the certificate changes. And it'll also notice if this site changes from an encrypted site to an unencrypted site. It will always just be encrypted. So, also there are mixed content sites, kind of pages, where you had HTTPS pages with some HTTP content or the reverse. Both of these are fabulously insecure. All the banks did this maybe 10, 15 years ago. Now almost nobody does it. Everything should be HTTPS all the way through. All right. Now if you use HTTPS for every page, what you can do is send the user an HTTP tag link, and it might send a session token over HTTP anyway, right? You don't need the right URL. This would be because they didn't put the right defenses in the cookie. So we can see that. I've got a demo of it here. Let's see if this is going to work. Okay, here's my vulnerable token example. I have user password. All right, and let me go to my burp, which is here, and clear the old history. Clear history. Yes, all right, let me move this higher so it'll all be in the streaming. All right, now I'm going to log in here as user password. I log in. Okay, now I got in, I'm user. So the question is, how did that work? And in the post, it sent username and password, and the server responded here. It set a cookie with the username right there. Username is user. So all I have to do is send this to the repeater and change that. Now it's going to, excuse me, not that one. I want the second one to go to the repeater. Let's go to the proxy. So now I'm going to get a welcome page saying welcome user. So I want to repeat this one. All right, and now I have a cookie someplace up here. There's the cookie, username equals user. I can just change that to admin and send it. And now, welcome admin. So that's, of course, the ridiculous case, but that does happen sometimes. Now, let's take a look at some other examples. Down here is HTTP only and secure. So I log in here. I guess I'll go to burp first and clear the old stuff. Proxy, history. Not too much to clear. I guess I'll clear it anyway. All right, so now I log in here, and I get a warning, but it's all right, undefined index, HTTP only secure. And that's because I think I'm connected over HTTPS. So, not sure I remember how to do this, but I wanted to show you that the alert, in this case, the alert will still pop it up. I can still get that cookie, username 1 equals user, from here. And so you can encrypt it. There's the encryption on here. Anyway, the point is, I'm not going to struggle with this one for a while. This one can only be transmitted over secure connection. That's right, here it is. So I was not able to successfully log in because when it tried to load the page, it won't send the cookie because it's not secure. Now, if I go to secure method of this site, HTTPS, and games, which is the same server with a different name, that's the secure version of this site. And now, if I try to log in here, it's going to work. I get in. And the reason that happened is if you go look in Burp, here's the games get token, here's the get welcome. Okay. If you look at the response here, when I logged in with my username and password, the response set my token and it set it to be secure and HTTP only. Secure means it will only send this over HTTPS, not over HTTP. And HTTP only means it will only send it over HTTP and not over JavaScript. So the fact that it can only be sent secure means I couldn't get in unless I was at a secure connection. HTTP wouldn't work. It wouldn't send the cookie. And secure, and HTTP only means that this will not show my cookie. It's showing some Cloudflare cookie, but it's not showing my username because that cookie is HTTP only and JavaScript can't see it. So those are good flags to put on your cookies. All right. All right, we've done this. All right, that's what secure cookies are. It will only transmit over HTTPS. All right, and you can control these things in the set cookie command in various languages. You can set a secure cookie and transmit a secure cookie. All right. There we go. We've done all that. All right. So there's OWASP has recommendations for this stuff. HTTP strict transport security is a security enhancement that will prevent any communication being sent over HTTP to the domain from a browser that supports it, which is a good thing. Strict transport security. And 23% of websites use it. All right. Another thing that might happen is the token might be exposed in the log. If you put the token in the URL, that's not a safe place to put it, even if you're sending it over HTTPS. And you can see this. Let's try this. This Google is amazing. JSession ID is obviously a session ID that should be in the cookie, but it could go in the URL. There's nothing to stop you. So if I just go to google.com and I search for that in URL, and I'm trying to paste in stuff. What is this garbage? Okay, there, and then enter. Some kind of garbage is popping up. All right, so up here you have pages about JSession ID, but if you go down for a while, you'll find pages that are using it. Didn't have to go even off the first page before I found it this morning. SuperEver, Apache Xamarin Nginx, Microsoft. Here's one. Here's some kind of forum. And a bunch of ones are government. UN and stuff was down here. This morning I saw several government ones. There's a foreign one. It may be that from the college I'm not seeing the same stuff. But anyway, I'll just take this one. There's one I took a picture of before. This is some kind of website with forums, and it's just put the session ID right up in there. Nope, not shown in this one. All right, let me go to my picture. I found a bunch just before class of running Google at home in Firefox, and you'll just see up here it has the JSession ID right there in the URL. You can do that, and people do it, and the problem is then it'll be all over the place. It will appear in the browser logs, in the favorites, in referral logs. Now, if you go to another page from that one, it'll send it in the referrer. So the referrer on the next page will have JSession ID right there. So that's why it's a bad idea to put tokens up there, but people do it. missing the I in URL. Oh, that might be what happened. Somebody said I was missing the I in URL. That would do it. Oh, I am. Thank you. That's why it didn't work. Let me try again, because it's kind of fun. You don't have to do anything complicated to find them. You just have to get to like the second or third page here. And you'll get, this one's talking about JSession IDs. But here we are. Here's something about Thailand's coverage scheme. Here's Ohio.Government Center. A lot of government websites do this. Here's some science writer, and I found some UN ones. Here's World Health Organization. There we go. These are the ones I saw earlier. So here's an Ohio Government Center, and you see right up there, JSession ID is all this garbage. Here's something from the UN. And again, there's the JSession ID just sitting right there. So, this looks like unauthenticated stuff, but still it's considered a poor practice to put the session ID up there, and it probably means if you did log in, there would be a page that put the session ID up there. And, all right, good. Thanks for the tip, Pete. All right. So that's the referrer attack. Just send an email to people containing a URL to your server, and you'll get the referrer page of whatever page they were on. And you might find something good in there, like a session token. All right. If you allow a user to have two sessions open at the same time, which a lot of sites do, they should have different tokens. There are different sessions, but some people use a static token, the same token every time, and that's not very logical. Then you can't have one of them log out and know what's going on. All right, what's that website? That was google.com, Joe. Anyway, all right, so then you can have flawed logic. If you base 64 decode this, it's got user equals DAF and then some kind of authentication token, but sometimes the authentication token is not tied to the user. You can use the same token with another username and it will accept it. So that's another thing that can go wrong. It's just sort of like a flag that says, I am logged in. Also, if you're done using logged in session and you just turn off your machine, the token might continue to be valid. The session token might continue because you didn't log off, or the logout might do nothing. This is extremely common. I found out this was true of Microsoft Office 365 a few years ago, and I tried a lot of websites. About half the websites I tried had this flaw that when you log out, the old token continues to work. And in a lot of them, even when you change your password, the old token continues to work. The only thing that can invalidate it is deleting your account, which is pretty horrible. That's cookie reuse. All right, so there's cookie theft. Here's session fixation. I can send you a link to log in. Say, here, click on this link and log in. And in that link, I include a session token. The server might accept a session token from the client on the first login. Now I can control the token. I can feed you a token. You'll log in, and I knew the token because I gave it to you. That's called session fixation. Then there's cross-site request forgery, where you trick the user into submitting a request containing a cookie that goes to my server. All right. And there's an issue of cookie scope. When a cookie is set, it remembers the domain and URL it's used for, but subdomains are included. So a cookie set by games.samsclass.info will be set to subdomains, which would be like foo.games.samsclass.info. If you add more pieces to the left, that's considered part of the same domain and it will get the cookies. But if you take something away from the left, that's not considered the same and it won't be sent there. So, all right. So for example, if you set a cookie for each user on blogs.com and the users are joe.blogs.com and sally.blogs.com, then Sally can steal Joe's cookie. The cookie for Joe will be sent to Sally. So the better way to do that is make www.blogs.com to set the cookie, and now it will never send that cookie to Sally or Joe. All right. Anyway, you can specify the path here, and it will submit this cookie to all subdirectories of that path when you set your cookie. All right, so you secure session management. Here's the general recommendation: make strong tokens, protect them, use a large set of possible values and strong randomness, have no meaning or structure. Be aware that many random number generators are not very good, and only transmit over HTTPS, so use secure and HTTP only flags on your cookies. Don't put tokens in the URL, And when you log out, invalidate the token on the user. So if that token comes in after a log out, it's no longer accepted. Your book recommends expiring logins, which I think is very impractical these days. Most people have phones, and you don't want to keep logging in on your phone. So as far as I can tell, almost nobody ever expires these days. I never have to put a password back into my phone sites. How Joe blog not get mixed up with Susan tokens? All right, let's go back there. All right, so here, if you set the cookie at www.blogs.com, that cookie will not be sent to joe or sally.blogs.com. It's not considered a subdomain. But if you set the cookie at just blogs.com, then it will consider joe.blogs.com to be a subdomain, and it will send the cookie there. So that's just an understanding of what a subdomain is. Is this good? All right. So I say that's the audit. That's consider the domain and path of your cookies. It'd be a good idea to not have cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, although almost everybody does. It's extremely common. And then, of course, the same thing you're going to hear in every chapter here. When bad things happen, you shouldn't just ignore it. You should block that user out. So if your tokens are submitted by unrecognized users, you should cancel tokens. Use two-factor authentication is good with hidden fields rather than session cookies. Hidden fields make sure that you actually are coming from the page you should be coming from, not from some attempt to replay the request or something. Every time you log in, make a fresh session with a new session token so you can avoid session fixation. And make a per-page token every time they request an application page. And if people send a request that doesn't have the expected per-page hidden field, then this is a mark of something being suspicious. You should cancel that session, send it to your incident response team, things like that. So here's per-page token. Each request has a hidden field. Customer ID here, and there's a hidden value. There's a customer some number. Here's screen token. Each page has a random number, so you can only go page by page in order, and you have to come from that page. You couldn't replay any of these in burp. It wouldn't have the number. All right, so when you get invalid tokens, that should raise alerts. You should alert users that somebody seems to be hacking into their account, and you should block that account, block that IP address, things like that. Be aware that you're under attack, and terminate sessions. If people are sending suspicious things, like input the validation checks, then you should be terminating that session. You know that you're under attack. All right, so let's take a look at the last Kahoot. By the way, if you do one of those searches like at Google, and you go to like the 4th or 5th page, Google will start complaining and trying to block you out and stuff. Google notices when you're suspiciously looking for vulnerable websites. That's called Google dorking. Those things are called Google dorks, the searches that find vulnerable pages. Johnny Long wrote a whole book about it. No tech hacking. You can use Google searches to find passwords and stuff like that. There are exposed password databases. All right. Let's give it a try. All right, so what does HTTPS prevent? Right, it prevents sniffing the wireless transmissions. You can do it, but you'll only get scrambled data you can't unscramble, so you can't steal data from it. All right, what defense prevents users from clicking through an SSL warning? The HSTS mark on a website in the header means this page can only be loaded through a secure connection. And if something's wrong with the HTTPS, it won't let you load the page, which is the point of it. All right. All right, what defense prevents cookies from being stolen by JavaScript? Lost the projector in here. Got to try unplugging it and plugging it back in. Oh, there we go. All right, good. It's HTTP only. That means only HTTP can transmit this, not JavaScript. All right. All right, what should a logout button do? Yeah, they should terminate the session on the server, but what about half of them do is just delete the cookie, which is not really enough. It looks like enough to the end user, but it doesn't protect you if someone stole the cookie. All right, and what session token is not sent on every request? That's the hidden field, which is probably not usually used for a session token, more for an anti-CSRF token. But the point is that's a hidden field on the form is only sent on that one page. It's not going to be sent on future pages. Right. All right. So what should happen when a server retrieves a request with a modified hidden form field? You should terminate the session. You're under attack. That shows this is not a legitimate user. This is an attacker trying to break in. All right, JG, I don't know if my Grid will be able to figure out who you are from that information, but Pete, they will work. And Cat will work. All right, good. All right. So let me stop this recording.